Not a problem, man.
Okay. I'll let you do that. I'm going to launch this thing. We are live, broadcasting the Comic Book Odyssey podcast. CALMstream for April 22, 2024. I'll let you do that. I'm going to launch this thing. Are you hydrated? Are you moisturized? Did you have a good day today? I hope you did. I had a good day. I worked hard, planted some trees, blew some leaves, and it was a sunny day here in the
That could
valley.
be, yeah.
And
That blew some leaves sounds like a euphemism.
hey, you, how dare you? We are getting a lot of janky kind of video today. And I don't know why. My settings are all the same. But for some reason, YouTube is just unhappy with uh, what I'm giving it. Usually, it's never a problem. So, but that's okay. I'm looking at the video here. You can see the pages. It's just a little choppy. Such is life. Sometimes this happens. With me today, I've got Skullface _ CMX, aka D Leon. How are you, sir? Are you hydrated? Are you moisturized?
I am very moisturized. I am very hydrated. Actually, took a shower not that long ago, about an hour before I jumped on the stream. Drank a bottle of water. Um, Doing pretty good today. Today was my second day off. I usually get 2 days off, and then I work 5 days in a row. Seems to be my typical schedule, but today was a beautiful day. Enjoyed it, relaxed. Got some new books in the mail that I put up on my own YouTube channel. I'll plug my channel elsewhere later in the video in this stream. But yeah,
No, go ahead and
exciting to
plug it
go through
now, man.
books and talk about comic books.
No, plug your channel
Oh,
now.
it's Skullface under yeah, it's Skullface underscore CMX.
Great.
That is my YouTube channel. There's not a whole lot of videos there. I do plan to add more. I'm doing shorts right now, so which is just me going through some lots I picked up. But yeah, let's talk about some Batman.
Yeah, let's do that. The chat
Doing pretty good
is
today. Today was
saying
my
that
second day
there's
off.
no
I usually
sound, but okay, now they're coming in clear, I guess. Yeah, we're gonna be talking Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. Um, this is a classic Batman comic book, 1986, I believe. This copy I got at the comic book store on sale in the back issue bin, $8. Most of libraries is gonna have this book. It's definitely considered one of the classics of comic books. If we look in the back, we've got Frank Miller here, his face. Yeah, young Frank Miller, and a blurb from Stephen King. It often gets like blurbs from high profile writers and artists. Probably the finest piece of comic art ever to be published in a popular edition. So this book has definitely has accolade and is responsible for creating a mind picture of Batman that was very distinctive, and up to this day is probably the mind picture that most casual comic book fans or casual fans of pop culture have of Batman. This pulpy, dark, gritty, and grim character, Batman, created by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. Interestingly, these two gentlemen were featured in the inverse order in Daredevil 180 that we reviewed, with a script by Frank and art by Klaus. Did you notice that? Leon, I can't hear you. You forgot your mute button there. D. Leon. Mr. Leon, are you with me? Did I lose Leon? Oh, he's typing me a message. And apparently the chat is saying audio is a bit choppy, but I don't know what to do to change that. Okay, I guess there's a lag. We got a lag. What is lagging us? Can I adjust that from over here? What if I lower the output? Let's see. I tweak the output. We'll see if we have any improvement. Might have to bite the bullet and get a...
You hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, it seems to... YouTube
We got a
seems
bit
to...
of lag between us, my friend.
Yeah, we do, yeah. But it seems YouTube is happier. So let's hope this lag improves. I'll take a pause and you can tell me.
Yeah, we probably got a little bit of latency going on here, unfortunately.
Yeah. So how are we gonna do this? Even the chat has let Mr. Life Eats Life. Mr. Life Eats Life. He's had some problems too. But stream health is good. I'm gonna try, Leon, just hanging up and calling you back. See if we reset this lag. Mr. Leon, are you on?
Yes, indeed. Are you here?
Yes, let's hope for the best here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know where I was talking about. Oh, Daredevil 180 is same creative team except for the colorist. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did. Except the colorist, you're right. I did notice it was the same creative team, which is pretty great. They did fantastic on Daredevil, so I mean, why not take the same talent and do it on this here for DC Comics?
Well, we will see some visual. I did take out Daredevil 180 out of the box, and I did see that some visual elements of Daredevil 180 are present in Dark Knight Returns, so we'll take a look at that in a minute. But first, let's start. We'll open this damn book and read it. My copy has an introduction by Alan Moore, which Alan Moore, as many comic fans know, is one of the top writers of comics pretty much ever. Highly regarded comics writer. So I was excited to read this. So I read to about here, and I stopped reading because he starts talking about how like he's 2 paragraphs in and the bestiality and cannibalism comes up, and I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about? This is a Batman comic. Like, he's talking about how Tarzan would have had sex with monkeys and stuff. Like what? And I'm thinking, did an editor not like notice maybe this wasn't the best idea? so
Yeah, really.
so I just skipped all, all this stuff, but I took notes in my book, and this thing that Alan Moore actually comes up later. We'll see in who I think is like the greatest villain of the book. Um, Basic premise of the book. How would you describe it in like just a few sentences, Leon?
I would say it's Bruce Wayne is fighting with inner demons
Hmm.
and trying to find some justification for a good death.
Right. Interesting. That's a really that is a strong theme of the book. Um, I would describe it as retired Bruce Wayne is now old and I guess fighting with inner demons and deals with this by returning as Batman. There's this series of events that cause him to return as Batman. Book opens establishing the 16 panel grid. Uh, and this this is going to come back a lot. Even the pages that don't have 16 panels, it's hinted at that there are 16 panels. So even though these are just this corner layout here, it's still measured as if there was 16 panels. So you could fit the remaining panels here, right? Four here and four here. So 16 panel grid. Um, he's now friends with dang, what's his name? I forgot the Commissioner Gordon. How could I forget that? So they hang out quite a bit, and Batman does revisit Crime Alley. All the villains are now in Arkham Asylum. There's really no supervillains to speak of, but we do have some. Later, we see that there's still a lot of mayhem in Gotham City. There's this guy here, Dr. Volper, who's treating all the supervillains, and his theory is that he can rehabilitate them. What did you make of this guy, Leon, Dr. Volper?
Seemed like a villain being built up. I mean, that's pretty much what that was hinting at.
Yeah. So basically, he's announcing the imminent release of Two Face, um, saying he's completely cured. Of course, Bruce Wayne is skeptical, and he turns out to be right.
Yeah, the release of One Face now.
Yeah, it's true. He did get cosmetic surgery. Um, this sequence here has become quite popular. If you watch Batman versus Superman, this basically frame for frame, this is recreated in that film. The scene of that basically created Batman, this random crime where his parents were murdered in front of him.
That's a good that spread right there is a great scene. Very good.
Yeah, I think a lot of the reason this book made such a mark is that it distinguished itself so strongly from everything else that was on the shelf, like the Neil Adams flowing lines type of thing. This is very kind of a loose hand. Um, it's a very imprecise type of. Well, it's precise in its own way, but it's not cleanly drawn. And this sort of 16-page
Yeah,
grid is just rare to find in comics. It's an unusual layout style. 16
it
panel
makes
grid.
the sequences of the events look very quick, slow and quick at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, there is more to read, but like this sort of sequence has a lot of repeating elements. So there's more images to read, but because they're all repeating, they flow very fast. So it feels like a slow motion sequence that goes quickly. Yeah, it's a weird effect.
Yeah, most comic pages, especially at this time, I mean, no more than maybe 5 panels a page. The 16 panels is unique.
Yeah. And the Watchmen, which is famous for its 9 panel grid, Keith Giffen did a very long Legion of Superheroes run that was quite dedicated to the 9 panel grid. But this is 16 grid. And he really plays with this grid. Like here, you have 4 panels, but they're broken up in two. So each of these two is related to the one before it. It's very cool. It's quite masterfully done, like in terms of sequential storytelling. And here it opens right up, right? Batman is the sequence is Batman's reliving his trauma, and he's coming to the realization that he can't not be Batman. And when he has this big realization, knocks over the statue by accident, the grid really opens up to this big window where he makes the realization that like he can't escape his Batmanness. Deep exploration of character here. So this is the first time you've read this, Leon. At this point in the book, like about this far in, what's your impression of it? We'll wait patiently for Leon.
I think we're running into a little bit of lag again.
Okay, let's reset. So, should be reset here. We'll keep trying that way. Tell me your impression of the book when you're about this far in, being this the first time you read this.
The story is reaching a boiling point at this particular part of the first chapter, and it's really breaking. It's reaching to that point where the Batman is coming back. The personal demons is how I interpret it, and it's great. I like the build up, the heat. Everyone's talking about how hot it is, and we're having record breaking temperatures in Gotham, and it's not raining. Which of course connects to the cover of the book itself with the thunderstorm and the silhouette of the Batman jumping. It's reaching a really good point in the story, and the part where I really like. It's a little dry at the beginning, I'll admit, but it's building the tension, and I do like that.
Good point. It does build up tension very well. So here we have like kind of the types of incidents, types of violence that's happening in Gotham that kind of causes Batman to reconsider his retirement. So we got basically violence for violence sake. It's not even people trying to reach an end. This guy from the shadows comes in, just completely psycho killer type of thing. And Batman does successfully stop him. And I guess he had paid off this guy to turn a blind eye, and Batman does mess with him, and takes the money that he took as a bribe and rips it up. Crack. So we have this character here, Carrie Kelly, is it? Carrie? What's her name? I think it's Carrie. Is it Carrie or Kelly?
Yeah. Carrie.
Carrie.
Carrie is her name.
Yeah. So she'll become a major factor later on, but she's kind of witnessing this whole interactions and Batman's return here. And Batman goes after the mutants, and they are like the big bad of this first arc. These cars, man. It's so cool. It's the way he expresses movement here. First splash page. Here Batman's kind of musing about how he sorry, I'm just checking the chat, the live here, making sure we're still good. Yeah, we're good.
Beautiful splash page. Love that splash page.
It's incredible. And then he's talking about how everything hurts now because he's older. So here's where I noticed a repeating element here. So here the 16-page grid is broken up after the splash page, so there's a big change. Look at this. So we've got a series of vertical panels, like tight, short, and here they're expressing kind of like a tension. Here's more like actions. So I'm thinking either Frank Miller wrote this into this script, or Klaus drew it and Frank liked it, so he started reusing it here. So this is 4 years earlier. Definitely a resonance here between these two layouts.
That's a nice observation. I never thought about that.
It's a good trick. I'm going to use that. I love this thing, whomp. Sound effect. Another graphic, like he's incorporating the sound effect graphic into the artwork. I like that. Same here. These are all like kind of mature comics storytelling devices that kind of distinguish this from the run-of-the-mill story. Look at this, how the fold in the cape, the edge of the cape is straight, and it really emphasizes the physical blow here. So good. And here we kind of have a Batman that is quite a bit more brutal and kind of cynical. You know, the cop says Batman's under arrest because he crippled that guy, and Batman is quite unsympathetic. He's young; he'll probably walk again. Like, it's quite nonchalant about violence. Yeah.
Poor guy.
And we have other examples of Batman being quite brutal and quite grim in this book. So these here, you didn't like these guys here, the kind of communication of story through TV narration. I think you were mentioning that.
That's a personal thing for me. Yeah. I would say if the it's I understand why it was used for storytelling, but uh, it how should I say with the visual medium that is comic books, I feel like this could be this information could be given to the reader in a more interesting way. In my opinion, I feel like that's probably one of the weak points of the story.
Hmm. Yeah, it does need to communicate a lot of things, and this is the device it uses to do that. Um,
I mean, it gets the job done, which is
yeah,
fine. But if, and that's really just a personal thing for me. I feel like the art itself could probably do the job of the dialogue and the narration, but I know Miller was really going for a particular theme.
yeah. Like this is part of the theme of mounting tension. Like this is like a TV debate about Batman's merits or lack thereof. So, and he's got these characters that are kind of full of hot air all the time, and he's got all sorts of. It's like terrible things are happening on the ground, but they're airing these TV segments, and it's like entertainment, right? It's like, and there's these opinion as entertainment, which I thought was still relevant today, right? This people go online and they just figure they
Oh
have to
yeah,
have an opinion about everything, right?
absolutely. I mean, there's drama channels that make money off of this sort of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They play this mutant's threat to Commissioner Gordon, who's on the eve of retirement. It's like the TV's not very responsible about what they show, right? So they just show it because ratings. Here's another instance of this Batman being quite gruesome. This he just basically approaches this guy, and the guy trips back, falls through a window, and cuts a major artery. And Batman uses that as leverage in like his negotiation for information from this guy. Like, I can get you to a hospital, or you could just bleed out on this balcony. It's he's a this is an
Yeah, it's pretty
angry.
brutal.
Yeah, it's not a very nice guy.
Big departure from the Batman of maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and arguably a return to the golden age style Batman you know, who used murder if he had to.
Yeah.
But they wrote this, and they explicitly, this wasn't meant to be an in continuity book. It was meant to be, but but it got so popular, they made it canon.
And that seems to happen a lot with really any of these stories. Is it could be out of continuity or it could be in continuity. Most of the time, they don't write them as that, but yeah, I guess if it sells enough and people are like, "Oh, this is such a great story," it's hard to tell where The Dark Knight falls into continuity. Honestly, I think it's in its own universe, which is good. Because a story like this really just doesn't gel with the majority of, I would say, the Earth Zero storyline for Batman. This could probably fit, like you said, the Golden Age Batman. This seems like from the 1950s. This seems like a logical place where that character could go.
So here, Commissioner Gordon has retired, and his replacement. Oh no, this is that happens later. Um, Here he's intercepting the uh, Two Faces / One Faces plans to blow up a building or two. Batman stops him from killing himself, and we've got here shades of Sin City, right? Like a bit of a, we can see why he went to where he went to with Sin City.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements of Sin City in there.
And
Did you also notice that it was Twin Towers he was planning to blow up? Just
oh,
an interesting bit of note. Um, it, just something, there's always been, not to peddle in controversy, but I always find that really interesting how that, um, I won't derail our stream here, but it's just interesting how there's like story beats about twin towers or major skyscrapers in cities being targeted by terrorists and to blow them up. And it's weird thinking about 9/11 and
hmm.
then revisiting a story from like 1985. But anyway, continue. It was weird reading that. I was like, oh my God.
Right. That had not occurred to me. Some more possible. Put it on the predictive programming question mark pile. So here, Batman admits that when he looks at Two-Face, a terrible villain, that he sees a reflection of himself, that he's also a monster. So this panel here, very popular. It's reused. This design here is reused in a lot of marketing for DC. That's chapter 1. So,
And with chapter one had a really good ending, really strong ending. Definitely enjoyed it. But this is where I felt like the story was like Bruce Wayne was battling with the demon inside, the Batman.
right here, this bat. So, reading just this first chapter as a guy who'd never read this before, you know the esteem this book has. Would you say it lived up to the hype for you?
Man, that's a tall order of a question. I would say no.
Hmm.
Realistically, no. Um, I thought it was a great comic. I don't think it was groundbreaking. I think it's just one of those things where it's a story out of time. You have to experience it when it came out, because um, it is a good story. Don't get me wrong. Um, and I always consider Frank Miller's art to be his strongest. Not that he's a bad writer; he is a good writer too. I mean, there's pages where he's upside down with the rifle and he's shooting the guy in the helicopter. Those are fantastic pages. I love those. The action panels are great. The sequences of using 16 panels on a two-page spread to give it the illusion of both uh, a very fast sequence of events, but also slow motion at the same time. It is a great comic. I don't know if I would say it is the groundbreaking book that it is, but if I were a kid or if I were a guy, who was reading Batman comics in the early 80s or growing up, and then I suddenly read something like this compared to what the Batman comics were beforehand, uh, and I think that's something that a lot of people were seeing as how it was so groundbreaking and original, is because this was still at a time when the Comics Code Authority really had a proper hold on the industry. They're like, you have to abide by these rules. There can't be certain language usage. There can't be certain themes and stories. And I guess that was one credit to The Dark Knight Returns, is it really pushed the envelope of how far could a comic book from the big two really go? How graphic can the violence be? How dark can the theme of the story be? And I think that's the really part that pushed the envelope with the story, is that it took what you traditionally knew about Batman from the previous 10, 15, 20 years under the Comics Code Authority, and this was Frank Miller being like, how much can I get away with? How far can I push the story of Batman? He's not the kid friendly hero. He's a bittered veteran of crime fighting, and he is fighting with a personal demon. He doesn't care about the people he fights. He beats them up. He breaks their bones. He disables them, literally disables the people, leaving them crippled, possibly for life. This isn't the typical Batman. So when I look at it from that perspective, like, yeah, this is huge. Um, so here I am, like reevaluating what I said before. I would say, yeah, this is a. Does it live up to the expectations of it being the juggernaut of a book that it is? I would say, yeah, pretty close to it. I would say it's not the Batman story for me, and that may be a little weird to say. I guess because I did read a good portion of Sin City, and I like Sin City because of its original concept, the art style of it, and I feel it works good. Maybe it's just me. I've my taste in comics. I always preferred um, that. I guess the more modern interpretation of the Batman, where he not so much that he doesn't kill, like the strict no kill rule, which took place in the mid '90s, moving forward, and the way he is today. Um, it would be Batman would get physical, like he would take down his enemies, but I don't know how far the story would go in terms of, will he disable, like, will he break a guy's back to, stop a criminal? Yeah, he probably would. But seeing it now in a comic, it's like, wow, I never did think about how brutal he could be. And he's an old, keep in mind, like, this is in 1980s, 55 years old, which I think is about how old Bruce Wayne was. When you're 55 in the 80s, apparently that's it. You're over the hill. Like, you're on your way out. There's people in their mid 50s today who could, run laps around me.
Hmm. I wanted to show this Dr. Volper. I thought was quite ironic. Let's see here. This Dr. Volper is a profoundly unlikable character. And I found it quite ironic that this Dr. Volper sounds an awful lot like Alan Moore in the introduction. Alan Moore says, fictional heroes of the past. He says, with the benefit of hindsight and a greater understanding of anthropoid behavior patterns, science fiction author Philip Jose Farmer was able to demonstrate quite credibly that the young Tarzan would almost certainly have indulged in sexual experimentation with chimpanzees, and that he would just surely have had none of the aversion to eating human flesh that Edgar Rice Burroughs attributed to him. Now listen to this Dr. Volper when they ask him on TV about Batman and his client, who was purportedly completely rehabilitated, who's highly suspected of having set up this like crime here. Batman's psychotic, sublimative / psychoerotic behavior pattern is like a net. Weak-egoed neurotics like Harvey are drawn into corresponding intersticing patterns. You might say Batman commits the crimes, using his so-called villains as narcissistic proxies. These two guys sound the same to me.
Yeah, that couldn't have been coincidence, right?
Complete blowhards. Complete blowhards to
Yeah,
both of them. It's like, dude, shut
there's
up.
no way there's no way that's a coincidence that Frank Miller wrote that, and then Alan Moore's forward to the whole graphic novel. I don't know if he's like taking the piss out of him
Yeah,
with this
maybe.
character. He could be. I know that and of course, it's something that we talk about here in comics and how there's always drama between people in the indie space. And I like to always remind people that uh, professional comic people have been beefing since like the beginning of comics, since the golden age. So like, don't worry, there's always been some kind of conflict between creatives. And I don't know if there is that kind of bad blood between Alan Moore and Frank Miller, but I could imagine it. I could believe it.
Jeez. So, and Dr. Volper shows up later in the book too, and he's just so unlikable. Like every time he says something, in my mind, all I can think of is, dude, shut up.
Yeah, he's a thoroughly unlikable character, which is great. If he's supposed to be a villain, he's a pretty good one.
Yeah, to me, he's the biggest villain in the whole book. So that's the Dark Knight Returns, chapter 1. I encourage people. I think we'll just do the chapter 1, since we're having like lag issues and stuff, and hopefully we can sort those out. I really think mainly is what I need is better internet connection. So everybody, please go to comicbookodyssey.substack.com. Take out a paid subscription, and I'll get a higher bandwidth internet here. And yeah, so that's Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, Klaus Janson. Colors by Lynn Varley. There's lots to be talked about in this book, just from a perspective of the craft of comics. Definitely go to your library, ask for Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. Almost 100% guaranteed they'll have it there. And, reserve an afternoon for reading this masterly crafted Batman story that became part of the zeitgeist, pop culture zeitgeist. Thank you, Mr. Leon, for joining me once again. Gamma couldn't be with us. He got called into work last minute, but he was with us in spirit. We'll be glad to have him in the next episode if he can make it. I hope everybody has a good day and that, you get strangers smiling kindly at you and that the cashier counts out the change properly and all those little blessings come to you. Have yourself a good night and take care.
Peace.